Your phone lights up at 11:47 p.m. Before you even look at the screen, you already know who it is. And the part that matters most is not the tension in your chest. It's the relief. That quiet, immediate relief is the detail most people avoid telling the truth about. Because once you admit that part, the whole story changes. We like to think love and pain cancel each other out. We assume that if someone keeps hurting us, some inner alarm should finally wake up and drag us away. But that is not usually how the nervous system works. Inside the brain, pain and reward are not clean opposites. They can end up tangled together, and when they do, the attachment can feel stronger than logic. You've probably seen this in real life. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a parent. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it was a boss whose approval somehow meant more than it should have. Whoever it was, the pattern felt the same. The good moments felt huge, almost unreal. One kind word from them could outweigh 100 kind words from everybody else. Their approval didn't just feel nice. It felt like oxygen. That kind of intensity is not random, and it is not always proof of deep love. A lot of the time, it is proof of a very specific pattern. Back in the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner ran famous reinforcement experiments. What made those studies unforgettable was not just what happened when a reward showed up. It was what happened when the reward became unpredictable. When a reward arrived every single time, behavior stayed fairly steady. But when the reward came at random, sometimes yes, sometimes no, the response became obsessive. The subject kept going, not because certainty is powerful, but because uncertainty is. That same principle is built into slot machines. And sometimes, without people realizing it, it shows up in human relationships too. Not the stable ones, not the calm ones, the chaotic ones, the ones where you never fully know which version of the person you're going to get. The warm version, the cold version, the apologetic version, the distant version. And when kindness appears just often enough, just unexpectedly enough, you keep reaching for it. One more try, one more conversation, one more late-night reply, one more chance that maybe this time it will stay good. That is where people often misunderstand their own pain. They think they are addicted to the person. A lot of the time, they are more attached to the uncertainty around the person. What feels like heartbreak is sometimes the nervous system reacting to the loss of the pattern. The cycle stopped. The rewards stopped appearing. And now your brain keeps waiting for the next emotional hit that never comes. That doesn't mean your feelings were fake. It means the pattern was doing more work on your body than you realized. This is why trauma bond research hits so hard for people when they first hear it. Clinicians like Patrick Carnes described how tension, pain, relief, and reunion can lock together into a cycle that feels incredibly powerful from the inside. Not because pain becomes pleasant, but because the relief after pain can feel so overwhelming that the brain starts treating that relief like a reward. In other words, what you start craving is not the wound. It's the release. Here's the simplest way to picture it. Imagine your nervous system like a thermostat. In a healthy relationship, the temperature stays pretty steady. Nothing dramatic is happening all the time. There are no giant emotional crashes followed by cinematic recoveries. And because of that, safety can actually feel strangely quiet. But in an unstable relationship, the temperature keeps swinging. Cold, warm, cold again. Distance, repair, distance again. And every time warmth returns after the cold, your body does not register it as ordinary. It registers it as rescue. That is the part the brain remembers. Not just the person, the spike, the swing, the flood of relief. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz spent years helping researchers understand dopamine more accurately. And the big point is this: dopamine is not just about pleasure. It is deeply tied to prediction and surprise. The brain reacts strongly when a reward is uncertain, when something good might happen, but might not. That means unpredictability can light up the system in a way steady kindness often doesn't. Not because steady kindness is weaker, because it is not forcing your brain into constant anticipation. So if you ever felt more chemistry with the person who kept you guessing than with the person who was calm, clear, and good to you, that does not automatically mean the first connection was deeper. It may only mean it was more neurologically activating. And that distinction can change your life. Because once you see it, a lot of old confusion starts making sense. The friend who disappears, then suddenly comes back the moment you begin to detach. The parent whose approval was so unpredictable that you spent years performing for it. The partner whose apology after a cruel night felt more intense than someone else's month of stable affection. In each case, the emotional high can fool you into calling something profound when it is actually intermittent reinforcement, doing exactly what intermittent reinforcement does. This is also why the cycle can be so difficult to break. If someone were cold all the time, most people would leave much sooner. What keeps hope alive is not constant pain. It is the timing. The kindness arrives just often enough to reset your faith, just often enough to make you question your own memory, just often enough to make you say, maybe I judged them too harshly. Maybe this time is different. Maybe the good version is the real version. And to be fair, the good moments may have been real. That is what makes this so confusing. The answer is not to pretend every soft moment was fake. The answer is to judge the pattern honestly. Because real tenderness inside an unstable pattern will still hit your nervous system harder than it should. That is the distortion, not necessarily your perception of them, your perception of the intensity. So what actually breaks the cycle? Usually not willpower, usually not a motivational quote, and not somebody telling you to just love yourself more. What helps is consistency. Long enough exposure to calm, predictable behavior that your body slowly stops confusing peace with emptiness. And that part is harder than people expect. Because at first, healthy can feel boring. Safe can feel flat. Reliable can feel underwhelming. Not because it is bad, because your nervous system got trained on spikes. When chaos has been your normal, peace does not feel exciting at first. It feels unfamiliar. That is why one of the most important questions you can ask yourself is not, were the good moments real? Ask this instead. If the uncertainty disappeared, would this connection still feel like love? Or was the intensity being manufactured by inconsistency? That question forces you to stop judging the relationship by its peaks and start judging it by its pattern. Not the best moments, the average. Not the apology, the whole cycle. Not the one magical night, the full emotional cost. Because when people finally look at the full pattern honestly, they often see something painful. The warm moments were real, but they were rare, and they were surrounded by far more tension than the mind wanted to admit. So when your phone lights up again, same name, same late hour, same wave of relief. Pause. And this time, call it what it is. Not love returning, not destiny, not proof that the bond is special, a schedule, reasserting itself.